One of my life goals is to clear an ultimate in Final Fantasy XIV, and yeah, one day I will really attempt and try to do this. And today we're gonna have a look at an immensely unhelpful video about every Final Fantasy XIV difficulty by Misshapen Chair. Let's see if this one is really as unhelpful as he describes it.
Greetings, travelers. I'm going to explain every difficulty in Final Fantasy XIV and what it means, only for them to add something new to the game and make this video stale and out of date, like that box of Cheez-Its that I bought when it was on sale. I still ate them. I see a small amount of confusion from new players when it comes to getting into high-end content and rating. The answer that you're looking for is run whatever is the current Savage tier, beat it, and then you can start running the old Ultimates without fear of someone thinking that you are underqualified. Although beating the current Savage tier is not an actual requirement to start running old Ultimates.
Wait a second, is it actually like that where if you beat like newer content on like 1 or 2 difficulties lower, it's on the same level like old content on ultimate difficulty? And this could be, right? Like, it's kind of like that with WoW, but then again, WoW doesn't scale, or you don't scale with those dungeons, right? So you have like OP gear, and if you go to like an old mythic raid, you're just gonna one-shot everything basically, right? But in Final Fantasy XIV, I imagine that it's still quite difficult, right? Like old school ultimates.
That's it. Video over. Now let's get out there and fine. I will explain all of the difficulty levels to further deepen your understanding of the definition of descriptors within the instances of Final Fantasy XIV. Normal content. This is plain old content,
Sprout content.
Nothing special. The white bread and saltine crackers of content, if you will. Something that almost anyone can handle without getting an upset stomach. This consists of 4-man story dungeons. The rules are made up and the DPS doesn't matter. There will be trash, and there will be bosses made of trash. Both of these are weak compared to the real enemies of normal content, which of course are other players. This is where I was born, amidst the tainted wastelands of sleep-deprived college students and sleep-deprived overworked retail employees. This is because I am the player who will get hit by a normal dungeon mechanic 3 times in a row, so people will go, "Man, Chair, you fucking suck at this game." That is true. But remember,
That's actually how I was when I first started playing Final Fantasy XIV, because I didn't know you have this kind of mechanics and stuff. There were like some very interesting mechanics where you need to hide behind a pillar, you have to do this, you have to do that, and I was like, wait, what must I do in this game again? It was sort of like that, but then I got into it. I think usually I just die once or twice to a mechanic, not 3 times, and then I figure it out. I'm like, okay, now I die twice at this mechanic. I'm not gonna die a 3rd time, and then I get behind a pillar, or I just walk out of some fire or whatever there is, and I'm totally fine. But yeah, that's how it is. And yeah, by the way, guys, if you're new to this channel and you love MMOs, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content.
only the beta testers for version 1.0 are the good players of this game, nobody else. So if you mess up a mechanic in a normal dungeon, it's because you wanted uptime, even if you're playing a physical ranged. There you go. I have given you
if you
the
focus too
optimal
much on
excuse.
DPS, you miss
Much
mechanics.
like Pokemon IVs, not all normal content is created equal. Some notable exceptions are good old Aurum Vale back when it was required, and AoE markers didn't exist and no one knows how fruit work. My personal favorite dungeon is always the Burn, because this ice dragon has multiple impossible mechanics.
Oh, I remember this. This is actually weird. Like, I think this video is actually on my channel of me playing for the first time a healer, right? And there was like this situation, and I didn't know you have to take some fruit or something to clear a poison. And I think I waited until I had the poison 2 or 3 times, and then I realized, oh shit, I'm dying now. I take so much damage. What kind of dot is this? Like, one single dot takes like 20% of my health or something. Like, it was insane. Like, I barely managed to survive this, because it took some time to figure out that I have to eat fruit and stuff. And you can't use like add-ons, right, in FF14, because you could get freaking banned for that. So there's nothing saying eat fruit or stuff. Like, I have this in World of Warcraft, where if there are certain mechanics and I do something for the first time, thanks to add-ons it says interrupt, do this, do that. Like, it always says something on the screen what I must do. I have like pretty fast reactions, I would say. I'm not so slow of a player, so I can sometimes react if I see something on screen, interrupt now or do this, and I will just do it. But yeah, FF40 is a bit different, but it's fine. I know now how it works. It's all easy peasy, lemon squeezy, basically.
Dungeon is always the burn, because this ice dragon has multiple impossible mechanics. Technically, there is a difficulty known as hard for your story experience.
Oh.
This is just a key word that means that you are going to go through the trial with 8 players. You might think that this makes the content harder, and you would be right, because you'll get me in an instance where I forget to tank the orbs, or even better, I might cleave the whole party with a tank buster. This is why nobody gives me responsibilities or power over others. The most popular, difficult, hard trials are going to have to be the Royal Margarine, the Seat of Sarsaparilla, and the Milky Crystal. A notch above normal dungeons and trials, you will have Alliance raids, which at this point, the only story-required ones are the Final Fantasy XIV equivalent of blacking out for 15 minutes and wondering how you drove over that entire distance.
Yeah.
This has 24 players in them, and the raids that will make you actually do stuff are technically the optional ones. Dunscaith is my personal favorite place to go and watch people die. It is the small things that put a big smile on my face. Also,
Wow,
Thunder
half
God
the
needed
group
to
gone.
be nerfed because he was too powerful. Although after how hyped up the current 24-man was for its supposed insane 24-man difficulty, I have concluded that any 24-man that isn't part of the Crystal Tower is on par with each other in terms of difficulty after the nerfs to Orban Monastery in particular. And the wiping city of Mihawk, clearly. The last piece of the normal content sandwich is normal raids. These will have some mechanics that will probably kill you. Think of Alliance raids, but with only 8 people instead, so deaths can occasionally, almost, maybe, have some meaning, and running it completely blind usually results in pure chaos for like 30 minutes tops if you're really struggling. Some of these can be a little tricky for newcomers, but
I will have a big problem because I've decided to also level up a black mage. I want to do like a lot of those, also like savage and stuff on a black mage. And I need to dodge mechanics and be very careful, because the problem about black mage is you have to know where to stand, right? Because you have like long cast times and stuff, and you're gonna like sacrifice so much DPS. And maybe some bosses, they have DPS checks, right? So I need to perform well. Oh, I need to be careful. I'm not even sure with what I will clear ever like ultimates on. I think about something range, like maybe machinist or something, maybe, but let's see.
most groups can figure it out relatively easily, even with no prior
Summon.
information. And you will still fuck up Experimental Fire Plume after running the Savage version for months on end because nothing makes any sense. Oh, wait a minute. That's right, it's because of uptime. I almost forgot what I said earlier. The weird transition difficulty comes from two of everyone's favorite places, Eureka and Bozja.
Eureka.
Bozja has fates and enemies running around the map, which really isn't that bad until you find a rank 5 or a star rank enemy that's going to kill you in about 1.5 auto attacks. Within the Bozjan instances, though, you do get critical engagements where the mechanics in those can be pretty complicated, but the punishment for messing up isn't usually immediate death. I honestly have no idea what the hell is going on with these clock mechanics, and the duels are pretty fucking intense, and have insane amounts of downtime between when you can try them again. That's why everyone just cheeses them. This is very well.
One thing I find weird about duels or PvP in general, like you're on a class, but you don't have certain skills available, only a portion of your skills. I wonder why they made it like that. I know that like some stuff is like super broken and stuff, but it's like weird. You have like a class and you get some of your skills taken away for PvP. It's like you're not fully yourself or something. It's like kind of like, hey, I'm not at full strength. I give away like half of my strength to PvP or something. So weird, right?
Designed, and I have absolutely no problems with it. I would never express negative emotions about Bozjan duels. Eureka, on the other hand, is a hardcore zone in the sense that enemies hit hard, and death can result in you losing progress if you don't have someone else there to revive you. You also have to toggle the RP walk button to not wake up the big spooky dragon. It's pretty grindy to progress in the zone in any capacity. Most of the mechanics that you will see from a notorious monster are not going to be the worst thing ever, but the consequences of messing up are pretty rough. On release especially, Eureka was known for beating people to a pulp, being even more grindy, and being widely unpopular. This is why we have infinite echo buff and XP boosts out the ass in there currently, and I still hated how much time it ate up when I did it, even after all the nerfs. The standout to hardcore Eureka content is the Baldessian Arsenal, which requires you to sign a waiver that your engine takes high-octane gas in order to participate in the challenge. Although mechanically it's about as hard as an extreme trial, which I haven't discussed yet. But it's hilariously punishing. Just look up what happens if you mess up Black Hole. It is also the only 48 plus 8-man instance in the entire game, making it the perfect place to up the difficulty by playing with all of your effects turned on, which I do because I'm not a pussy. We are now
It's actually crazy, you guys see that as well, right? Like how many freaking dungeons, raids, bosses and modes you have in freaking Final Fantasy XIV. Like, people that really love in MMOs raids and dungeons, I always recommend Final Fantasy XIV to try out this game. Because if you are really a PvE freak and you love dungeons like so much in raiding, I think you're not gonna be disappointed with Final Fantasy XIV like raiding. I think it is really, really well done, and some of those bosses, not only do they look cool, like this one there that we saw on a freaking, like this horseman with like the sword, and they're like freaking huge, and you have like dragons sometimes you fight against. But there are also like interesting mechanics, like sometimes you need to stand in a circle, sometimes, like I mentioned earlier, you have to hide behind some object, or you have to freaking walk out of some beam kind of thingy, and it's just so interesting. I really like that. Or where you have to pick up certain orbs, if you don't then your group is gone. And I mean, there's like some rage potential right there, where like people can like freaking point the finger on you and say, you idiot, you're the reason why we failed, and they go like hate on you. But usually like the community is not so toxic, and they all know that if they like complain and stuff, like yeah, the GMs there, they're pretty fast to act and ban people and stuff, so nobody even tries that usually. So yeah.
Entering the high-end raiding category listed in Duty Finder. The first segment of designated hardcore content is Extreme Trials.
So it was fun.
The reward for beating these trials is nothing important, and then you're going to farm it afterwards for a mount and occasionally getting a shiny weapon from it about 6 years later when it's finally added into the game out of nowhere. When you run these, most people will expect you to look up mechanics ahead of time. Although if you do manage to get a group of 8 people together who want to close their eyes for it, usually it's not going to take more than a few hours to get a clear. Depending. Mechanics are possible and probably won't outright kill you for making a mistake most of the time. There's also a DPS check that's going to require people to be awake. The extreme difficulty setting has been through a lot over the years, especially ever since one particularly notorious trial, so deadly that the devs said that they would never create such an unholy abomination ever again. And that was King Thornton. It was so hard that the ultimate fight that just came out is actually just the extreme trial tuned up to level 90 numbers. Yep, that is a very accurate and true statement. The more you know.
Warning.
Whoa, what's happening?
Entering the savage raiding zone.
Ah, yes, savage raids. This is where boys are made into femboys, and where women are made into women plus one. Take everything that you learn from a normal version of these savage raids and burn it somewhere in the middle of the desert, because all that information is useless. 99% of the people run this content with strategies ahead of time that the community came up with. Such popular things include Ilia Strat, Xeno Strat, Brain Dead Strat, and my personal favorite, Every Man for Himself Spread Strat. Yeah, that one never fails to fail. The idea is that for each Savage Raid tier, consisting of 4-ish fights, it will get harder as you progress, with the last fight of each tier having an entirely unique phase just for playing the Savage difficulty. Screwing up mechanics will probably result in you dying, but if it doesn't outright kill you, it will give you a hefty damage down debuff.
I actually love that how certain dungeons, I've experienced it also when I did like someone like hard, or like if you go like extreme and stuff, or like savage. Like I love how certain dungeons, even though those are like old school ones, if you go like higher, let's say hard or something, like the whole dungeon, like the mechanics and stuff changes and things. Like it's interesting because it's not just numbers that scale differently, but it's actually you get like new mechanics. Because I know like other MMOs, if you increase the difficulty, you don't really get new mechanics, except maybe like 1 or 2 at most, but like very minimum changes, and usually it's just the number scaling a lot. But they actually took a lot of time in Final Fantasy XIV to make a hard one so much different from like a normal one, and add like multiple different mechanics and stuff. I think this is really well done by Square Enix.
To make the DPS checks incredibly tough because they are pretty serious at minimum item level. Savage raiding, like Extreme Trials, have also been through a lot over the years. So much so that when people say they are new to raiding and they want to run Old Savage as a way to prepare themselves for New Savage, I simply panic for a little bit because Old Savage was actually created by sadists. A
What?
Realm Reborn Savage in particular, in terms of difficulty of mechanics, is way beyond what you would expect from anything that came after it. Nail is actually an impossible fight that not a single person in the entire universe ever cleared. Heaven's Ward Savage is still harder mechanically than what you would see in Savage today, but it was also coupled with DPS checks that were so high that you needed raid gear for at least a
That's so
couple weeks
cool.
for many groups to even have a chance at passing them. So needless to say, current Savage raiding doesn't have mechanics anywhere close to a Realm Reborn, and DPS checks that are tuned to be doable with day 1 raid gear, which is why trying to run Old Savage content at minimum item level and with no echo is considered more of a challenge run than anything else. Even then, you aren't going to get the complete, authentic, old-school, hardcore experience, especially since certain mechanics can't server tick you into oblivion anymore. Nisi. Also, there is a 48-man Savage instance that came out of Bosja, and that is a completely separate thing called Delibrum Regine Savage.
Delibrum
I'm not
Regine.
exactly sure where that fits into this whole scheme, so it's going to go
So
right
many
here
players.
where I say
Holy
it does.
shit.
You can't get revived normally if you die in this instance, and you either have to have people with special raise actions that have a small chance of working, or use a re-raiser that has a 0% chance to proc. This stipulation of special raise conditions also applies to the Baldessian Arsenal, but I didn't feel like mentioning it earlier. Beating DRS, as it is called, not to be confused
What do you
with
get from this?
DSR, will get you this big, cool mount.
Wow.
That is super neat and super
I want
cool.
this one.
Now that you have completed the current Savage raid tier,
Yo, that looks so nice. I want this one. It's this kind of demon dog with like freaking 3 heads or something, right? That's a doggy thingy, right? I want to see it from the front.
Wow, that is super neat.
Wow,
and
yeah,
super
this
cool.
is cool.
Now that you have completed the current Savage raid tier, welcome to Hell. In an effort to preserve the insanity
What?
that was once created in A Realm Reborn, there was a meeting held inside of the headquarters of Hard Game Company Incorporated, where it
Okay.
is said that according to rumors, Hidetaka Miyazaki himself was consulted to make the most intense and fucked up content in all of human written history. As they say, you will witness true horror. Where they take old raids and old trials and old dungeons and layer multiple mechanics on top of each other for no particular reason, and then put some beta testers on amphetamines into the content to see if they can solve it. And if they do a mechanic correctly once, they say, ship it. Behold, ultimate
Really?
content.
Is that how they do that? So, hey, we have a new raid. Yeah, let's find some people to test it. If they clear it once, it doesn't matter. Like, you're just gonna put it out like that, even though maybe, how many attempts was it? Like 50, but they cleared it one time from 50 attempts. Okay, yeah, this can be released like that. Is it like that? I actually wonder about that.
Tense. It requires the best gear that you can get at the time, and it is mostly a test of endurance of you and 7 other idiots to see if you can stomach running something repeatedly until it works. You cannot run these fights unsynced ever, so their difficulty is not really preserved exactly. Before the stat squish, most old ultimates barely had a DPS check
Titan
anymore,
can
and
be
the heal
tough
checks
if you
really
know.
didn't require much either. And now after the stat squish, you can consistently skip Ifrit dashes, yep, 100% of the time. But heal checks are a little bit more real again. There
Yeah.
are 2 ultimate fights in Stormblood sync to level 70, 1 ultimate fight in previous expansion at
That's exactly what I like, this kind of mechanics, where you have certain mechanics that you can barely avoid, and you do get hit, but you don't die from that, and there's a chance for like good healers to carry you through certain phases. Like, I don't like one-shot mechanics, to be honest, I hate them, but I like those mechanics where you lose like half of your health or more, and they come maybe like fast in a row or something, like you have one mechanic, then you have 3-4 seconds till the second hit comes. It always takes like half of your health, because this makes it interesting also for healers and a bit of a challenge, because you know now, oh, I must quickly use 2-3 AoE heals in like a short amount of time or something, and we're gonna be good, or use like my big AoE CD heal. I actually like that a lot.
level 80, and there are supposedly going to be 2 ultimate fights in Endwalker. The only one out currently being Dragon Song Reprise.
Dragon
Dragon Song Ultimate is currently considered to be the hardest ultimate by some amount of players.
Wow.
Because the Epic of Alexander Ultimate took about 5 days to clear, and Dragon Song Ultimate took about 5.1 days to clear, so that means it's about 0.1 days harder. This is a good way to measure difficulty,
such a minimum.
I would know as someone who hasn't cleared the fight. Most people will want to know if you are capable of beating the current Savage tier before you try to run an
try and
ultimate,
try again until
because
you
if
do.
you're struggling on Savage at current item level, believe me, current ultimate is going to eat you alive. Also, there can be puzzle mechanics in these fights that make you wonder what drugs the developers were on and how the fuck the world first teams
I
managed to
hate
figure
puzzles.
them out. You will want best in slot from the Savage raid tier before trying the current ultimate. These fights are also very long and very much a gauntlet, ranging from 16 to 20 minutes, to 5 minutes if you're a speedrunner. So have fun and
5
don't
minutes?
die. Only sign up
That's
for
fast.
ultimate content if you like to suffer and you want to bask in the glory of combat. Because I don't like the titles and I think the weapons look stupid. Oh shit, I
What?
just said one of my
It does look stupid. I actually like that bow. Let's get back there. This looks really nice, this bow. If I was a bot... Oops, I misclicked. If I was a bot, I would so go for it. Like, that looks actually really nice. I don't think it's bad. Even this sword here looks pretty good.
weapons look stupid. Oh shit, I just said one of my negative opinions. Put your pitchforks down. That's just my opinion. You're allowed to like those
Wow,
things
the golden
just
one
as
even
much as
better.
I'm allowed to not like them. So yeah, that's all the different difficulties in Final Fantasy XIV, and nothing about where to unlock everything because it doesn't make sense,
Wandering
and I
minstrel.
don't care. Blue quests are not real, and they cannot hurt me. Also, Unreal is
What?
just an old extreme trial that has been upscaled. Bet you thought I forgot about that. Now let's get out there and run the actual hardest instance in the game. Titania, baby!
Oh, this was pretty interesting. So now we know more about the difficulties and stuff. So some content that is old can still be quite a challenge if you put it to ultimate. And I like that a lot. Like, this is so different from like other MMOs. Because like some other MMOs, you can go to like a super high difficulty on a dungeon and it's not really that difficult. I experienced this a lot in WoW because in World of Warcraft, like, nothing freaking scales or you scale with it. So unless you're doing some time walking event, you can go to, like, let's say an old mythic raid and you like one shot almost everything or two shot everything if you're on a max level character. And I find this like such a waste because developers put so much time into making stuff, and why should it matter that 5-6 years have passed? Like, why can't we have like old content relevant in every single MMO? And I feel like Final Fantasy XIV, they really do such a nice job with that, making old content relative again, or by giving old content suddenly like a higher difficulty, like there's something that was not available on Ultimate, suddenly this one gets Ultimate and stuff. I think this is so freaking great. I like that. And yeah, my goal is still to one day clear on Ultimate. Let's see if I can do that. That would be so nice. Even if it has to be like an older dungeon, doesn't matter. But I want to at least one time in my life clear an Ultimate. This is my dream. Oh wow. And yeah, I didn't find this actually to be unhelpful. I don't know what's wrong with Misshapen Chair. Why would he say this is unhelpful? This was helpful because now we have some more insight on how the difficulties are, and it's actually cool what he also pointed out with like other mechanics and stuff. If you increase the difficulty, I've experienced this myself from going from normal to hard. There was suddenly like new mechanics and I was like, holy shit, what's going on here? So yeah, this was a very good video. This definitely gets my thumbs up. And yeah, if you guys are new to this channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give this one a thumbs up. I wish everyone a wonderful day. I will see you guys next time.